Thank you very much for inviting me to speak here. This is a bit of a detective story tonight. I'm going to, and like a lot of detective stories, it's going to be told at a bit of a pace because we're talking about 6 years of excavations here at the Nunnery. I'm going to show no pictures of objects because we've hardly found anything worth speaking about. We're largely talking about this building here, the Nunnery, which is at the head of Longy Bay in Alderney. These days, it's an L-shaped building with this farmhouse at the back, and a car park this side, and part of its eastern wall fallen onto the beach down there. This is the northern aspect of the Nunnery. We have a gate, and there's little round sort of bastions at each corner of the wall. It isn't quite square, the walls curve towards the corners there, which has given rise to the belief that this is a Roman fort. This is the plan of the Nunnery. It's roughly 40 metres square with the rounded corners and these little rounded bastions at each corner. This is a slightly bigger version of what are known as the signal stations in North Yorkshire. The signal stations were built around AD 360, possibly slightly later. Some of the very latest things built in Roman Britain. And they were built along the Yorkshire coast to protect that coast, we assume, against incursions by barbarians, pirates, call you what you may. Although actually we think they're probably not signal stations. They're actually sort of small forts. So for a long time, the Nunnery has been referred to in textbooks as a signal station, as a part of this family. However, whenever archaeologists have been there, their evidence has been inconclusive, or they've concluded that, in fact, although it looks like a signal station, it's actually a medieval building, because they can't really prove it's Roman. So we've had this strange, it's Roman fort, except it's not really, debate going on for probably about 200 years now. It's actually the oldest known building in Alderney, as far as we can gather. It features on the first known map of Alderney. It's the only building shown on the first map of Alderney. That's Castrum Longini in the 14th century. But actually, it's probably the oldest standing building in the Channel Islands. Right, this is the beach. Okay, this is the east wall of the Nunnery. Here's one of these rounded bastions fallen on the beach, and the rest of the east wall is down there. The Nunnery, like a lot of our forts, has been modified by the Germans. There's a machine gun position there. There's one around the corner. There's anti-aircraft positions on the top here. There's a machine gun bunker around the corner here. There's a slot there. The Germans call this Piratenschloss, the pirate castle. And what the Germans have done to the Nunnery has actually really determined its later history. If I go back to the plan, you'll see in the centre is this German personnel shelter, which fills the middle of the fort. This is part of the east wall, and we dug it out on the beach with a huge amount of effort, actually. There's a lot of moaning and groaning getting this on here. This, to me, looks like a piece of masonry. John McCormack said to me, "Why are you trying to find evidence from excavations that this is a Roman fort when you are finding Roman masonry? You know, is one piece of Samian ware going to change your opinion?" So these walls here, they're about 1.2 meters thick, and this is part of this is the interior face of the east wall, because it's fallen flat on its face. It's actually fallen off its foundations down the cliff and splat onto the beach and broken into several pieces. Now this slide here is a close-up of one of the wall blocks fallen on the beach. Here, this is the cliff that's fallen down here with all overhangings here. This is the internal face, which is eroding. And you'll see here, it comes down to this point here, and then the stonework steps, and it comes down 3 courses, and it steps, and it goes down, and then the foundations would have been there. This is a classic Roman fort construction technique used in what's known as the Saxon shore forts along the south coast of England. Basically, it's wide at the base, and it steps back to become narrower further up. And this is the only bit of the internal wall we can actually see. So, in 2008, the Alderney Society asked me if I would lead an excavation at the Nunnery. So we got together a team, half Alderney, half Guernsey, we went to Alderney, we picked a position, you saw that, remember that picture of the north wall? We picked a position on the north wall near the northwest bastion, and we put a trench in just to see what we could find. And we dug very slowly, and what we found was lots and lots and lots of post-medieval stuff. We found turf and soil, and then we found a road and build-up, and then we found a layer of mucky sand, and then we found a soil, then we found more sand, more soil, more sand, more soil, going down. And we went down about 1.8 metres until we reached this layer of clay, and then suddenly we hit natural sand. And the Nunnery is standing on sand. It's standing on 3 or 4 metres of sand. There's nothing there underneath it. But what we exposed was, we have an upper wall here, we have a thicker lower wall on the outside, standing on this big plinth, and it's standing on a bed of beach stones and mortar all mixed together. Classic Roman construction. The only other thing the Romans would have done is they would have put wooden piles down into this sand. We couldn't see them because, of course, we can't knock the wall down to see whether they're there. And now, from the beach, we also know that the internal wall steps out about there and about there as well. So this is looking very, very much like a Roman wall. And we didn't find hardly any, we found a lot of Roman roof tile in the rubbish up here. This is all 17th century here, and Second World War up there. And we only found true Roman down here. We found about 6 pieces of pottery lying around in this soil down here. It's very, very hard to prove this is Roman. What we're trying to do here is we're not digging the Roman stuff up. We're going down to it and stopping, because we've got a small team, not much money, not much time. So we're trying very hard not to wreck the site. So when you look around the site and when you look up, we say, okay, these walls are Roman. And you look up the wall, and actually up the wall, you go up nearly 7 metres from the foundation to this point where the top of the wall is. And actually, this here is, if you imagine a little battlement coming along here, it comes along to there, it goes up, that's a little battlement there, it comes down, it goes along there. This is the top of the Roman wall, and in the medieval or post-medieval period, the Roman crenellations have been filled in and raised a bit. In fact, this one's lost a bit of its top. And the very top of the Roman wall is this row here of herringbone masonry. Again, sort of typical Roman decorative masonry at the top of the wall. So it's not only Roman at the bottom, it's also Roman more or less all the way up, which is quite exciting, really. So when you go inside, this is the inside of the south wall, and this walkway, we think, is Roman, as is the inside of the wall there, as are these little traverses there, and each one of these would have supported a crenellation. So there would have been a crenellation coming up there, another one there, another one there, and so on, running along. I put this picture in Current Archaeology, talking about the nunnery. One of my friends I used to be at college wrote back to me, and he said, I've got a site in France with almost exactly the same structure. And he sent me a photograph, and it could have been the nunnery. And it's a town called Saint Bernard de Comminges up in the Pyrenees. And its walls were built in the early 5th century AD. So the time is right. So this is suggesting, you know, Alderney had a fort built in the late 4th century, maybe even the early 5th century, we don't know, in this style, using exactly the same technique as they were using in France. Just to make sure, I had my daughter and one of my colleagues put a trench in on the north wall. And what we see here is we see the inside has got herringbone masonry again, which should be the top of the parapet. And I don't know whether you can see it here, but there is a crenellation. But if you see it in real light, you can probably see it better than I can. You see a little crenellation sticking up, and there's a whole series of them coming on here. And there are the remains of these little traverses in the turf as well. So north wall, south wall, where the farmhouse is, if we look back, there's early maps dating back to the 18th century, and they show these little things behind where the farmhouse now is. So we think they're on that wall as well, but it's been masked by some horrible repointing. Now this is a map of the Filey Roman signal station that I worked on when I was in York. A lot of it's fallen into the sea now. It's slightly smaller than the nunnery, but as you'll see, it's this sort of squash playing card shape. These 4 pretty useless bastions on the corners. It doesn't have a fancy gateway like we've got, but it's got a tower. And the absence of the tower is something which people have said about the nunnery, well, it's not got a tower. and all the ones in the north have got towers. Has been a problem. Now, on the east wall of the nunnery has fallen into the sea. But nowadays, there's another east wall about 10 metres into the fort, running along. And for a long time, in fact, all the books previously said this wall was built to repair when the other one fell into the sea. However, this wall has got Roman tile in it, and it looks older than the rest of the fort, which led to initial suggestions that actually there'd originally been a Roman building standing here and the fort was built around it, which I didn't quite believe, or this was built in the middle of the fort. So our next set of campaigns were aimed at finding out what on earth was going on in the middle of the fort. So we have Roman roofing, we have Roman tile coming along here, right, and a buttress there, and the Roman masonry ends about sort of there. The Romans built their walls out of facing, they had facing stones on either side, and then a wall core was made of concrete and rubble, and the concrete and rubble was tied to the outer face with layers of bricks. And interestingly, this layer of bricks is exactly 10 Roman feet above the top of the foundations, which to me is a bit suspicious. Right, so we're now gone round the corner and inside the fort. Remember that German personnel bunker I showed you? It's here. It's underneath this mound there. So that's the east wall. We've just been looking at the wall over there, if you can imagine. We've come around the corner, another German bunker here, and this wall here in what we call the passageway has also got Roman roofing tile down there, the same level. So this appears to be the north face of whatever building was standing out there. And we went, aha! So we dug trench 3, this position. That is a very late fancy garden wall. This is a layer of concrete. That is a post-medieval brick pavement. Layer of muck, wall. So the post-medieval wall has been built straight above on the same line as this early wall here, which is on the same line as the wall further back with the Roman tile in. So clearly this building is heading westwards into the fort. Trench 2, a couple of my colleagues. Now down at Trench 2, this is Phil de Jersey's feet there. Phil de Jersey is standing on another post-medieval wall here, but right where my friend Isabel is, her bucket down there is standing on a very big wall. She's only just got enough room in the front of this trench to stand. That wall runs 2 metres that way in front of her. It is over 2 metres thick. The trench wasn't wide enough to fit this wall in. This wall is huge, and it's still going that way, westward, into the middle of the fort. So here's a view from the parapets down. Trench 2 was there, the parapet was down there. The wall seems to be coming this way. So in 2010, we dug Trench 5 down, because at some point this wall needs to turn, and we need a corner. So we're playing Hunt the Corner, and it was destroyed in this area here. We couldn't find it. It's a huge, probably Germans have dug a massive, great big hole here. There's absolutely nothing there. And so we came this way and we came that way, went right over there looking for this corner. Here's me and my friends. I must mention here my late colleague, Peter Arnold. Don't know whether anyone knew him. Stalwart to the Alderney Society. Sadly, he died at Christmas, but he was on our dig last year, and he was still sending me emails up to Christmas Eve, reminding me of things that needed doing. He'll be sadly missed. So that's me and some of my colleagues trying to find the northwest corner of this mystery building. We didn't find it, but what we did find was part of the west wall. Now we're right down at the bottom of this trench here, and the west wall turns at about 17.8 metres from the outer wall. So it's a 17.8 metre wide building. We've just found the west wall turning. We've got the bottom 3 courses and a foundation course, sticking out again, a bit like the one did on the outside. A foundation course and maybe a pavement or something down here. Didn't have enough time, didn't have enough room to find out what it was, but at least we had the west wall trench 5. So we went 17 metres further south, trench 6, and we found the south wall. That's me with the south wall. And the south wall goes from here to there. It's 2.2 metres thick, okay, which is about 9 feet in old measures. And it's standing just over a metre high here. We just caught, and this is the internal corner of that building. This is just the internal face of that wall, which goes over to where we've been before. Even more exciting, we then stuck our trowels in the ground trying to guess where the southwest corner was, and we were within 10 centimetres of it. In fact, it's just there. It's just below the turf. One thing that does get in the way on this site, there's an awful lot of drains. There's a drain there which got in the way. There's a drain here that got in the way. But this is our southwest corner of this building. So let's find the southeast corner, shall we? So we went outside the fort. This is the existing east wall of the fort here. There's a German observation point there. The Roman tile starts here, it carries on to there, it stops, and it starts again here and goes onto the corner. This is what's known as the garden, and the sea is about there. And it's just a weed patch. So we figured that if this building is square, we figured that the southeast corner should be round about there, somewhere underneath that machine gun position. It's my wife giving it a go. And there it is. And interestingly, here are the Roman foundations coming in here and around and turning for the corner. And here are the later foundations, because what seems to have happened is after the east wall fell into the sea, this big square Roman building has been extended that way to connect it up to the corner in order to square the fort off. So this is, and you can see the post-medieval foundations here are higher than the Roman foundations, and there's a rather messy sort of seam up here as the two have been fixed together. So, ta-da! We have a square building. Here we go. That's the east wall, which we know is there. Trench 3, we found it. Trench 2, we found it 2 metres wide. That's trench 5, where we found the west wall. Trench 8 is the corner. Trench 6, where we found the big width. And then trench 7, we found the corner. And it looks like the Germans have plopped their personnel shelter right in the middle of this Roman fort. You know, that's up there. And actually, 17 metres square, that's our tower. That's the missing tower. And it's been staring us in the face for 200 years and no one spotted it. So we're really quite pleased about that. So we then said, right, let's find out some more about this tower. So we went up on the rampart. We're above if you can imagine, the German bunker is here. It's underneath the dirt here. And this is the passageway down there. And this is the east wall. And we thought, right, well, where's this tower wall? We took the turf off and there it is. This is the interior of the Roman tower wall there. And Kate is there looking for the internal northeast corner. And there it is. Okay, so that's the interior of the fort. We're about 4 metres above ground level here, but we can't go deep enough because this is all loose rubble thrown in by the Germans here. It needed to do a big dig to expose it. And this is the internal face of the wall here, and we've got the internal face of the facing wall here. But interestingly, this is weather eroded. So this tower, or whatever it was, has stood open to the elements for years and years and years for this area here to be eroded here. So you can imagine there's this Roman tower and it's been ruined and the weather's got at it. And then in the Middle Ages it's been expanded out to when the east wall fell, and then the Germans have plopped their bunker in. It's actually looking quite complicated in the middle. So this year we said, I know, we're going to find the rest of that east wall, and actually it really foxed us because it wasn't there. Let's go back, and I'd like to show you a stone. See that little stone up there, which is like a sort of pentagon shape. Okay, look at it there. Now the east wall is going that way. Okay, there's a pentagon-shaped stone. It stops. Here's the east wall, and it stops just beyond where we were. And we were digging all the way down here and all the way down here. We couldn't find it, couldn't find it, couldn't find it. Found the back of the German bunker, which is there. Somebody, maybe the Germans, has cut away the back of the Roman wall and thinned it right down. And then, in the post-medieval period, they've plopped another wall on top of it there, on the same line, but thinner. And these are German communication pipes there. So that was a real, this was last year, and it was a really heart-rending, boring job playing hump the wall, moving all the German rubble. What we also found was, let me get this right, we're looking south here, we're in the middle of the wall here, this is the east wall here, that's what we've just been looking at there, the cutaway corner. The Roman wall stops there and plunges downwards, and in the middle is another wall. This blockage, which we're calling the insert wall, stuck in the middle of the Roman wall. Now we were wondering, we're looking from the outside, it looks like there's a repair on the Roman wall, where the tiles come and stop, the tiles come and stop. We call it the V-shaped repair. Now we were wondering, is there a gate there? Was there a door there? Was there a collapse there? Why was there a dirty great big hole in the east wall of the Roman fort? And we don't know. But whatever reason there was, somebody's plugged it. And I think when the east wall fell into the sea, they thought, oh dear, we haven't got an east wall anymore. We connected up to the corner and we plug the gap in the middle. And that took a lot of work to find that this year. So another repair to the Roman structure. That's stepping back slightly. I'll just show you what we've got here. Again, east wall and the sea. That's our Roman tower wall here, the corner, cut away, German bunker in there. That's post-medieval parapet coming along the top, and then this medieval or post-medieval insert wall, which is sort of here. And can you see, I can't see it from here, there's a sandy layer there. Just there? Is that sand just there? We have this, the stuff built up against it isn't sand. It looks like at some point there's been a rampart built up against this wall. So basically, the Roman wall wasn't there, it's a big hole, they put a wall up and then they put an earth rampart up behind it, actually a sand rampart up behind it. Then at some point, the Germans have come along, scooped all this away to build their bunker, and the only remains of the original rampart are there. So we've actually now got something like about 10 different phases of stuff going on this wall here alone. So we thought, well, what's happening at the south end of the east wall? And actually, again, the same sort of thing. This is the post-medieval parapet there. This is the clawed away Roman tower wall here. And it's just starting to turn to its corner. But right there is that German machine gun bunker. There. So there's not much Roman stonework between here and the German bunker. And in fact, when you go inside, and we only noticed this year, it's one of those, oh moments. Because it's been staring us in the eye, German concrete, random stonework. This is the southeast corner of the Roman tower, about 4 meters above ground. We've got about nine courses high, just coming in here for a couple of meters exposed before the German concrete covers it up. So we've actually got the wall standing there as well. So that's a tower. So roughly, we have a tower about just under 18 meters. I say 17.8, Phil says 18. Depends how much you stretch the tape. 17.8 something is 60 Roman feet, which is half an actus. An actus is one of these Roman military measurements. And I can just imagine some centurion saying, okay, we'll have a tower in the middle, half an actus square, please. And we'll have tiles every 10 feet up the wall. And there's a cube, something's a cubit on here as well. So that's our tower in the middle of the fort. The next thing we wanted to look at was the gateway, because none of the other Roman forts have sticky out gates. All their gates are quite small. Meanwhile, this is Helier. This is a reconstruction of the Roman fort at Helier, which looks monstrous. However, we think our walls are higher than that, because our walls are about 7 meters high. Which are serious. They were thinking originally that these walls were just token walls, but at 7 meters, they're pretty decent walls. You need an army to take a fort with 7 meter walls high. And actually, if you've got 2.8 meter thick walls, there's going to be something quite serious in the middle. And if these are 7 metres high, this needs to be at least probably 21 metres high to be worthwhile building in the first place. So that may be what we're looking at in Alderney. Something like that, if you can imagine. Which looks ridiculous until you consider how much Roman roof tile we found all over the place. We found hardly any pottery and loads of roof tile. That's a view from the beach, and this is the east wall. The northeast corner is still there, and this is roughly that's the German machine gun slit. So we know the Roman tower ends there, and we know it ends here, and it would be something about that sort of size, which looks ridiculous. But there you go. So let's have a look at the gate. Here's the gate. We think certainly the top couple of metres are reconstructed because the Roman ground level is about 1.6 to 2 metres below modern ground level. It's come up with Santa. So actually your top of your Roman gate would have been about there if the Roman gate was in the same place. And there's quite a lot of evidence that this has been rebuilt up here, and the Romanish looking stonework is sort of down there. We haven't done it exactly yet, but the Roman stonework up here, you can probably just see the herringbone up here somewhere, and the remains, it runs something like about there. Across the top. So we're sticking a ditch down the corner here, and this one almost defeated us because it was the deepest trench we did on the side. They had to go down 2 metres here to play Hunt the Romans, and actually if you look at my daughter's head there, point along, so there's a row of lumpy stones about here. Okay, we found this is one of our layers. There's loads of sand blown in from the sea on this. Loads of sand. So if we go forward, the layer of lumpy stones is there. Okay, so the diggers were working up here. We're going down 2 metres. This is the nunnery wall here. This is the gatehouse. And what we were trying to do is find out whether the gatehouse and the nunnery built at the same time. Answer, yes. Because this is the bottom of the nunnery wall. That's the top of this plinth. Remember the plinth that sticks out? Plinth that sticks out. That's the top of the foundations there. The gatehouse doesn't have a plinth, but underneath the plinth is a layer of mortar capping the foundation stones, and the layer of mortar goes around and under both structures. So therefore, the gatehouse is built at the same time as the nunnery. Now, interestingly, we hit a Roman pit here, which was full of architectural fragments. A great big chunk of another building we fished out there. So another building stood on this site at some point in the past, another Roman building, possibly demolished to make this. That's interesting. Unfortunately, this hole was already 1/2 metre deeper than we thought it was going to have to be. And there was a utility trench here and 3 enormous, great big boulders that we couldn't move over there. So we couldn't actually get into these Roman deposits down here. But one of my little dreams one day is we cut off the utilities here, we get some shuttering on this side, and we open up, we found out what on earth is going on down there. Because that was very interesting. We had some carbon-14 dates done down there, but they're all coming out as 6th and 7th century. So the scientists are saying we may have some contamination. And there's plenty of sewage pipes and things coming out of the nunnery, so that could be contaminated down there. Exciting stuff. So trench 14, we thought, yes, we're going to solve the problem now, except we just had drains and drains and drains on that side. This is the east side of the gateway. That's the path where the people were coming in and out. We picked up a plan from the 18th century which seemed to indicate that the north gate wasn't being used. So what we did was we just went about 30 centimetres into the gateway to find out whether it had been blocked in the Middle Ages. But we've got a sewer pipe there, we've got another sewer pipe here, we've got a sewer pipe there, and we've got one running across there. It was a complete nightmare. So in the end, we just did this pathetic little slot all the way down, which went down 2.2 metres. And the Roman stonework is still going down. We haven't seen anything. We haven't seen any sign of ending that here. It's just going down, 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 down. But there is an indication just here of the gateway being blocked. So the jury is sort of out on that one. That's a bit iffy. That was a bit of a disappointment, that hole, for 5 days worth of digging. And that hole down there is about the size of an A4 piece of paper. You could put 1 foot down there. It got narrower and narrower and narrower with like rocks sticking out the side and things. And we just said it was just getting too dangerous to do anything down there. It's a shame. I'd really like to find out whether those drains are still working. If not, we'll hook them out. We actually hooked one out that definitely wasn't working, even to get that far. So what I'm going to talk about now is the garden. Now, the thing about the garden is that the nunnery is still inhabited. There are lots of places we'd like to dig inside the nunnery, but there are drains everywhere, there are electric trenches, people park their cars, people's children run around, and the Germans have messed up the whole middle here with this dirty, big bunker. But the garden is there. This is a source of fascination, and most people who've dug at the nunnery have dug in the garden, and they've all been disappointed. Heather Sabir dug there and concluded that the nunnery was medieval because she dug here and she found medieval pottery about this position in what she thought was the construction cut of the east wall. Chap called Miguel in the 20s and 30s dug there, and he was alarmed with finding Georgian coins 6 feet down. He thought he reported finding a Roman surface there, but he was a bit depressed, and everybody who's dug out there has been disappointed because it should be full of Roman stuff, and it ain't. There's an indication in the post-medieval period of a building being here and of a Victorian building being there. So let's take you through what we found in the garden. And we've dug in the garden, say 3 years. Right, Trench 13C, straight on the topsoil, we found this building. And we believe it's late Victorian. We think it went up something like 1880 and it was gone by 1900, whatever it was. End of story for that building. But it was a big one. The dating evidence is very difficult. In fact, we had to re-excavate this year to try and find out when it was built. Okay, this is a shot showing the east wall, and as you can see that big white patch on wall, that's what I'm calling the V-shaped repair. This is what makes me suspicious about the garden. What was happening there to explain this, and we thought it could have been a gateway, a blocked up Roman gateway, or a repair. And so what we did was, 2 years ago, we dug here in Trench 13A, and then last year we dug there in 13B to extend what we found in A. And this is what we found. We didn't expect that. Slap bang in the middle of the wall is this feature. We thought it was a well. It's actually a stone water basin. It's got an outlet, it's got an inlet there and an outlet there. Now it's looked sort of Roman, except we worried. It was slap bang in the middle of the Roman wall, and it's built at Roman ground surface. You can see the plinth here. That's the plinth. So this is built at Roman ground surface. But as you see, it's slightly Katie-cornered, and it's been cut into the plinth. And when you look at the wall above it, the wall is slightly kinked, the stones are smaller, and there's little flecks of lime mortar rather than Roman mortar in there, and bits of slate. So the indication is this is actually quite a late, this is a post-medieval basin, smacked into the Roman wall, but at Roman ground surface. And we'd been assuming, because the ground surface out there is about 1 metre higher than the Roman on that side, that this had built up slowly. And this might be explaining why everyone's got so frustrated in the garden. That's the inlet here, nice sort of bricks either side. We thought they were Roman bricks, and again there were some Roman forts with identical features in here. However, I don't think those are actually Roman bricks. I need a brick expert to tell me, but I don't think they are. And there's like a little stone outlet, carved stone outlet there. So last year we did Trench 13B. The little stone basins under here, we came out, and this is the capping of the outlet of that stone basin. Big flat bits of Alderney sandstone, lime mortared together. Very, very tough. We tried to get the top off with a pickaxe and we couldn't. Leading out towards the sea, and importantly, over the top of it was a beaten earth surface there. And it was quite clear that the beaten earth surface was the same scheme as the basin and the drain. So what's happened is sometime in the post-medieval period, maybe 16th century, 17th century, the area of the garden has been cleared, they've stuck a basin in, they've stuck a drain in, and then they put a surface in. And it's obliterated all the Roman evidence that side of the wall that would have been there, which explains why everyone's been so frustrated. And in fact, we think we found one of Migiot's trenches down here. There was a 6 foot, exactly 6 foot wide, rectangular, straight cut trench in the corner there, completely clean, nothing in it, obviously been dug and filled in immediately, and we thought, looks like an archaeological trench. And we thought, ah, okay then. And then in fact we extended the trench that way, and we confirmed that when they built that Victorian building over there, they smacked through this surface as well. We cut it away because it's been chopped about, but this surface extended all the way over here. And we thought, right, well, that's sort of done it for the garden, really. And then out on the cliff, where the wall is falling into the sea, we found this outlet. And the outlet is actually lying on top of one of those fallen Roman wall blocks. What was the bottom? If you can imagine the wall standing like that, the wall's gone bang and fallen into the sea. And then the drain has been constructed sticking out over the top of it. Basically on the bottom, it's over the top of the wall, which is actually the bottom of the wall, if you get my meaning. And this sort of, this is sort of it really for the wall there. However, all is not lost. When we were messing about in the garden, we got as far as trench 13E. So we got up almost as close to the sea cliff as we could without falling off it. The wall is where the floor is, if you can imagine. The fort is where the floor is. And I think these stones in the edge here may be the edge of that little drain heading out to the sea. Here, this is a Victorian, what we call the garden wall, a dry stone wall built in the garden, running roughly on the line of what would have been the Roman wall. Then there's ½ a metre of dirt. And then we have another wall down the bottom, or rather the foundations of a wall. This is clay mixed with big beach stones, and it goes all the way down to here at the bottom. And these are the foundations of the original Roman east wall. They're made differently to the other side of the fort, but what it shows is that when the east wall fell, it fell off its foundations. It didn't take them with them. The foundation stayed behind and the wall fell over. And this indicates that the whole wall fell as a single episode. It didn't fall down over the years. We think that probably the southeast bastion was undermined by the sea in a storm or something and fell. And when that went, it took a bit of the south wall and 2/3 of the east wall with it. And it went one big catastrophic bang over the cliff, falls over the cliff like that. It hits the beach and breaks like a concertina like that. And because what we find is all the way along the beach is a block lying on the cliff and a block lying on the beach all along. So this probably happened all at once. We didn't quite get the whole width here, and so last year we shifted ourselves a metre that way and a metre further seaward, trench 13F. And what we have here, this is our drain coming out the fort, heading towards the sea. It goes under, and it goes under the garden wall, which is there. That's the Victorian garden wall. So the Victorian garden wall is over the dirt. The dirt is over the post-medieval drain. And right down here, you can see the sticky out bits at the bottom down there. You see these little layers and layers and layers and layers. That's the clay foundation of the Roman fort. And right at the bottom here, this little grey bit down at the bottom here, that's natural sand that the whole thing is sitting on. And we've actually got a width here, and the width there to there is more or less the right width for that wall to sit on. So we found the east wall, which is nice. It's a bit deeper than Heather went, and what I think happened on Heather's dig is she was worried to go too close to the cliff edge in case it collapsed. She was looking for a construction cut for this wall, and there basically wasn't one. It was sliced into the sand and immediately filled in with the wall. There wasn't a classic construction cut as you'd often get on a wall. And what we were finding here is little medieval pits dug into it, robbing pits as well. So what I think she found one of these little pit holes here full of medieval pottery and assumed that was the backfill of the construction cut, whereas actually it was effectively a cut into the Roman foundations as well. And I think she was digging she was about 2 metres further this way. So I think it was almost like a bit of bad luck. So what you can do on archaeological sites, you can just miss the bit of evidence you're looking for. So that's sort of that one sorted that one out. And that's basically as far as we've got. So that's our seaward view of the nunnery. We're not going to dig this year because the garden is exhausted. There's no point digging out the garden anymore because we know that surface will have destroyed everything. We've found the east wall. We've found the corners of the tower, so nothing to prove there. We know that the German bunker has messed up the middle of the tower. There's nothing there. We know there's utility trenches galore in the middle of the courtyard, so that's going to be very difficult to dig in the courtyard. There's a couple of little places we could have a go at, but nowhere easy that we're going to get any more good information out. So we're going to give it a pause this year, and I'm going to write up what I've done. There've been interim reports in the Alderney Society bulletin, but I'm going to try and put these things into some sort of sensible form. To interpret the fort as we have, and then decide what we're doing next. So in conclusion, the team has shown that this is a Roman small fort. We're guessing that it's late 4th century AD. We don't know that for a fact because we've only found a very, very small amount of pottery, no coins, and it's all been above the Roman levels, nothing really very datable at all. No inscriptions, no historical information at all. And the carbon-14 isn't working because of possible contamination. What's it doing there? It's clearly not a signal station because it's down in the valley and there's a big hill behind it. What I think is that Longy Bay is an inlet and you've got a view straight to France from there. If you wanted to control that waterway, the best place to put a fort is Alderney. And building forts is not about protecting places. You often see, oh, this castle was built to protect the harbour. That's rubbish, really. Castles are built to control things. And this was built to control Longy Bay. And it's quite possible that this would have been the base for Roman warships. This date, they had fleets of quite small, fast warships based at a place like this, designed to counter piracy and to act as scouts against barbarian incursions, and also to keep an eye on various rebels, because the Roman Empire was constantly suffering rebellions at this time of various nations by its own officers, its regional commanders, its army, and so on. So this is put there to control that waterway. It may have had something in Guernsey as well, we don't know. There's a site in Guernsey I've got my eye on. I'm thinking, well, if Alderney's got one, has Guernsey got one? Could it be, for example, at the Catel Church, which has got a direct view to Alderney and has got a big Roman building underneath it somewhere? The other reason for putting this in Alderney is if the Romans have got a garrison in Alderney, pirates, rebels, etc., they can't set up their own little base in Alderney. It sort of denies its use to these people you wouldn't want there.